Good morning, elevated people!
Welcome to the Skyhouse Fit Podcast. My name is Acl Miller. I'm a sports physical therapist from Washington, D.C. Today, on episode 1, we'll be joined by Hikari Miller, who will tell us about her journey from ACL tear to being selected to compete for Red Bull. Along the way, Hikari will share her tips to keep you healthy and dancing strong. Thanks for coming my way. I hope you enjoy. All right, welcome everybody to the Skyhouse Fit Podcast. We're here with Hikari Miller. I'm Acl Miller, no relation. We got Elevated Fitness Champions of Spirit. So we're really happy to be here. This is episode 1 to kick things off. We couldn't think of a better guest to do so. So Hikari, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your journey in dance?
For sure. It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Jared. My name is Hikari. I've been dancing for 20 years, a very long time. I do styles like popping, and I do Memphis jukin, and I've done a lot of styles growing up. And I had an Acl injury 3 years ago, and I had a reconstructive surgery. They took a piece of my hamstring and they made a brand new ACL. And that's when I met Jared as my physical therapist. And since that injury, I wanted to go into sports medicine as well. And I came back, made a full recovery, and I'm still in my prerequisite stages to apply for med school. And I'm training people and helping other dancers rehab injuries as well.
Awesome. So yeah, that's partially why I'm really happy to have you on today, because I think you have a unique mix of someone who is in there battling, in there teaching others how to do this, but also having gone through your own injury and rehab process, and just kind of with this other side of it, just through your interest in health and wellness, as well as strength and conditioning. Going back to your injury, what was going through your mind when you tore your ACL?
Well, when it happened, I heard and felt a snap. I immediately panicked, and it was just a lot going on in my mind. I didn't think I could walk again. I was just at the very early stages, I was very scared. I just wanted to be able to walk again. I was like, I don't need a dance career. I won't train anymore. I can find another job, but I really want my independence back. I want to get off crutches. So I've never been so injured. It was very, there was a lot of uncertainty when I first got my ACL injury, and it was very discouraging. Like, honestly, I didn't think I'd come back to dance and things like that, but I learned that it's actually a very common injury, and it's a very long, but it's definitely a smooth process, like going from being injured to surgery to recovery. It's a long time, but it's definitely possible. And I didn't think that in my first stages of my injury.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that people, we all hear about ACL, and sometimes, especially those who are involved in sport or athletic or performing arts, it is a common injury. And sometimes I think it gets normalized in a way of like, oh, I just tore my ACL. I don't think people realize just how long and how much effort, especially on just the strength training side of things, that it really takes to get back. Elite performers, people who have no other jobs, at the most, they're going to be back at 9 months. And so it's always interesting to have that conversation. And to your point, it is a really long time. And you're going through that process of just being able to walk, just being able to do the stairs, and then slowly you kind of start to see the light and these doors open up that you say, hey, actually, I can get back to some more of these higher level activities. So I'm just wondering, like, it is a long time. I think for you, we also had the pandemic come. So you were getting ready to do your return to unrestricted activity, passing the lower extremity functional testing. But the pandemic kicked off, and we were trying to navigate through Zoom. So um, I think it ended up being a little bit over a year for you, if I'm remembering right, to actually pass that, and probably right around that 12-month mark. So I was just wondering, in the course of that process, what was the most memorable part of your rehab journey?
I remember doing a lot of PT at home. I know a lot of people experienced, well, we all experienced being home a lot, but since I was home all the time, I actually was able to I had all the time to do my PT. So I actually felt like it gave me focus to do it.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, it was hard to be consistent and continue working and continue school and continue all these things. And then, trying to still be involved in dance in different ways or limited movement. Once the pandemic hit, I took it as a blessing and I was really able to do my PT like 3 times a day, have lots of protein throughout the day, get a lot of rest. And I came out pretty strong. So for me, I got very lucky, even though I didn't have the gym equipment or didn't have access to go meet you in the clinic. Our Zoom sessions really helped. So I really remember, like, I remember Zoom sessions. I remember you'd kill me in like 15 minutes. Like, I would be exhausted, and I remember working out a lot.
yeah. Yeah,
So
I'd say you're definitely one of the people who really stand out. Everyone who comes to physical therapy, they have different levels of readiness, and I think you are just so ready to have a successful recovery and so determined to have a successful recovery. Even you mentioned taking the protein shake. Even as I'm saying these things like, hey, normal recommendations for individuals going to be 1 gram per kilogram of body weight after this surgery. And we'd actually like to see up to 1.5 or trying to get these protein shakes in. And then definitely, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, you were training and working out, just taking that to that next level of this is really what it's about. And also, addressing your uninvolved side and really building up just really your entire body. That was something I consider when we did finally get to that stage of testing, just kind of how much you really lived all those things, and kind of how much stronger you came out on the other side. So it was that something that you had in your history in terms of looking at things like diet, looking at sleep, and how those affect performance and recovery?
yes, but it wasn't as disciplined and consistent before my surgery. And after my injury, it was a huge wake up call. Just because you're dancing doesn't mean that you're strong. And I wasn't incorporating enough strength. Some of my fundamental patterns of hinging at the hips or squatting or lunging, my knees weren't really in line with my feet. All these other details I really didn't master until I started working with you. And the day of my injury, I didn't have a lot of sleep. Like I worked and danced 7 days a week straight. I was on my 8th day and I had a lot on my mind. I was really stressed out and I was still like so determined to force a practice in. And I was so tired. I did a weird jump and then it just snapped and gave out right there. So that was a huge wake up call to me that like you really can't push your body past its point or else like it's going to collapse. Rest is incredibly important, and protein is incredibly important. For me, since I was so busy, it was hard to get my protein intake. It was hard for me to sit down and actually have a whole meal. So I should have been more responsible and take a protein shake if I can't sit and have more meal and then supplement it a little bit. But after my surgery, I made sure that I was eating enough protein as well as supplementing with protein shakes. Um, I tried all types of things too. I was drinking B8s with collagen powder. I was trying all types of things. I was just desperate to get back. Um, there's so much uncertainty in when you come back from an ACL, and I've seen athletes or dancers that never came back to dance after their ACL reconstructive surgery. And I remember one time when I was in my cast, and I was going to a restaurant, and our waiter came over and was like, "Oh, do you have an ACL, sir? Or do you have an ACL injury?" I was like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" They were like, "I had one too. I've had it 4 years ago and it's still not the same." And I was so mad about this person, like, telling me that, because he was so discouraging. And I was like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let this injury delay, or I'm not going to let this not fully recover. Like, but he I thought back to that waiter, and he really scared me. He said, like, it's never been the same, and I've seen other dancers also, like, get so depressed and discouraged from that. They didn't come back. So I haven't seen, even though it's a common injury, I don't see too many. I don't see too many dancers go through that and have a successful recovery. Like, I know it's possible, but there was so much uncertainty in the air. I've never had a surgery before. I've never had such a catastrophic injury before. And the few people that I know that had it, like, haven't come back all the way. So I tried in every effort to come back, in diet, in sleep, in strength training, in habits, in like positive mindset. I tried everything to try to come back strong, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think you hit on so many good points, and I think biggest thing, trying to just control what you can, and those are things that, aside from just maintaining a happy, kind of healthy human being, really can tip the scale in terms of recovery. Part of the title of this podcast, what we're all about here at Skyhouse Fit are also like champions of spirit, and in that, I think that a lot of excellence is developed in adversity. And I was just wondering, as we talked about, this is a long time, this is a year process. You continuously just say how uncertain your future as to being able to return to this activity that you loved, how uncertain that was for you. Having gone through that, how has that shaped how you continue to interact? Does it influence how you dance, or how you make decisions today?
So, I'm going to start with how it's influenced my dance. I'm in a very exciting point in my dancing right now. I'm really starting to develop my own style. And it's revolving a little bit off of my injury, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise. Like, my mentors and the legacy I'm a part of in Funk and Focus, there was a lot of different types of moves on the ground. There was a lot of different types of dynamic floor work and stuff. Um, and I was always trying to imitate my teachers. So about maybe 2 years in, I started to take the movement I've learned and push it my own way, and start to develop my own kind of moves and my own style. And I started to get really good at robot, and really good at slides, and really good at footwork things. And I can still do ground moves, after, but for about 2 years, I couldn't do some ground moves. Now I'm able to do lots of different types of ground moves that are unique to my body, um, because of my injury. So I'm actually in a really exciting point in my dance career, because I've manifested a really original style. And before my injury, I was more mimicking my teachers instead of doing something original. So I'm very excited about how my dancing's formed right now.
It's
I
incredible.
forgot the other question.
Yeah.
I forgot my other question. Uh oh, okay. Your other question was, how does it affect my decisions? So I'm a little bit more mature and smart in how I move, I'm not going to do things that are very vulnerable for my knee, like really crazy jumps onto the knees or something, or you know, um, I'm a little bit more like conscious of how I bend the knee. Um, but that I try to keep my physical therapy and training, I still continue to push on that because you can't really think to be holistic and being like strengthening and training and that, and also trying to express like people try to do like holistic things and things that like physical therapy and try to like do that in their dancing, and then they dance really tentatively and it starts to take out the expression. So to me, I think it's really important to continue state strength training and then express yourself. The habits that you gain from physical therapy you will naturally come into your dancing, but if you don't separate it, then you always kind of be in limbo. So it's changed the way that I've trained, and I'm a little bit more smarter of how I even schedule my week. I make sure I don't dance one day, or I don't work out one whole day. Um, I like to move around a lot, but and I also feel good now that I'm moving more. But um, rest and getting lots of sleep is not negotiable. So that's definitely that's definitely changed in the last 4 years.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that about kind of building your own style. I know for a while, even when we were working together, there are certain moves that you really just couldn't do. And I
Mhm.
remember working on, you were doing different like tutting and different things like where you kind of really put your focus into that area as a way of like, hey, I can still, be a part of this. I can still work on these other skills. And then it's really cool to see that evolve into now you're like, hey, I got everything back on the table and let me
Mhm.
actually do something that's going to be right to me, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's probably what all these OGs and originators were doing. Like they were doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can pay homage to the people before you, but that's kind of what it's all about. And that's really cool to hear that how that's influenced you.
Yeah.
And I would agree, like we talk about this a lot in physical therapy, and in the world of strength conditioning, is that like our training doesn't have to mimic what people are doing like when they're dancing or when they're on the court.
Mhm.
And there is a level of interference where we don't want to do that, like I would never say, hey, like this is how I want you to, pop or something like that, but the idea is let's fill in some of these gaps, let's prep our muscles, our tendons. Yeah, maybe let's learn some of these different movement patterns too that can just let you access and engage certain areas that you don't get when you do the same moves all the time. But let's absolutely not do anything that interferes with that, um, with that expression or with that joy, and we don't, the less you're thinking about things, the better in my opinion on that.
Mhm.
So that's really cool to hear. Um, and then it sounds like you're taking a lot of this now and actually sharing your experiences with other dancers. So fill us in. What are you doing? I know there's a new initiative at Funk and Focus. I mean, you've actually been trying to bring some of this information, this programming out to the dance community. Tell us about that.
Okay, so back to what I was talking about before, like when I tore my ACL and my friends that have torn their ACL had um, different experiences coming back. Um, I really wanted to share, and I really wanted to have an example that like you can come back to this, you can come back stronger. It's not hard. Like I'm gonna do it. You guys are gonna see it. And like if anybody needs to go through this, like you can see an example. So that really was the inspiration of it. Um I've been into fitness and health like most of my life. Um so it it's pretty much a passion to share it with people. I want to help dancers kind of be more health conscious because our culture sometimes it doesn't leave room for trying to be more healthy because like partying and drinking and lifestyle and stuff, um, sometimes there's not room for the piece of self-care and rehabilitation work, like strength training, mobilization work, and eating healthy and stuff. So I hope to help transform the culture in including some of those things. Um, I feel like if I can share it, then it might inspire some of my friends and anybody else to partake in that. Because our community, we're all always going to experience like injuries, and it comes with the field. I don't want it to really make people really depressed or discouraged. So I wanted to be like talked about more and give them tips of how to prevent some of those things. Because when I go to other dance programs, sometimes there's a physical therapy on spot for like ballet programs or some modern program schools. Like I always saw that there is like physical therapists on certain days, and I noticed that urban dance culture or street dance culture doesn't have those kinds of things. It's not even um, talked about. So, like, I feel like there's a lot less awareness to being health conscious. That's why it was really inspiring, and it was inspired me to try to put it into Funk and Focus.
Awesome. I think having someone, I mean, you hit on a lot of good points there. Um, I think especially coming from someone who's like in the culture and living this is so important, where you're kind of living proof of the impact of these things where I think people really follow people, and I think you being able to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This helped me. This could probably help you as well. And being that example, I think has just so much weight and value, and also in a way that you get what the day to day is. You get what these challenges are. So along those lines, before we get into, hey, what are some of these things that dancers can do? What are some of the main barriers that you see to say maybe engaging in some of more of these healthy habits or doing some strength work, whatever it may be? What do you see in terms of things that you find that folks in the community are having difficulty doing that?
Time management. I I don't like when my friends say I don't have the time. Like, that's the biggest thing that I hear, and it really drives me crazy because I wanna see them to continue to become successful and continue building their schedule, and, their biggest excuse is time management. I don't have the time, I don't have the time. It's not about putting a lot of time, you just have to be consistent. You don't have to put in an hour workout every day, just do 20 minutes of something. Um, but not having the time, there's not such a thing. Like, I'm busy, I make the time. Everybody's busy, you make the time. So the older you get, you need to be able to manage time. I didn't understand that very early in my dance career, and I wasn't very good at managing time. And then other things is maybe access to gyms.
Mm.
There's a lot of different types of gyms that have really good prices. A lot of apartment complex has it, but you really don't need a gym all the time. You can do a lot of things on the floor using your core, laying on your back. You can do things in push-ups. There's so many different ways you can do push-ups. You can use your body weight. You can do lunges. There's so many things you can do. But the biggest rebuttal I have with my friends, I would try to get them to come train, is they said they don't have the time. So um, yeah, I would say better time management skills, and you have to continue to work on that in my opinion, for the rest of your dance career. And then, if you don't have a gym, it's okay. Like, you can do body workouts, just body weight.
Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of that too. The time thing is huge. I mean, I get it. I definitely think we all struggle with that. And I think the big thing is like, hey, we have time for what we make time for. And to your point earlier, I think really like that self-care of just finding time for yourself. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to, fully express yourself in the world, or be of service to others as well. Um, and then in terms of that, the access to the gym, um, I know we worked a lot with those like eccentric isometrics, which are just one crazy way to make any exercise really tough, really fast. And if you're
Mhm.
like me, once you get to the third or fourth round of that, you're questioning why you even decided to do this in the first place. So that was, we were doing, say, like you're in a rear foot elevated split squat, lowering down slow, and then holding there for those 5 seconds,
Those are
right?
so
And then trying
yeah.
to pop out the bottom. I
Mhm.
know Ryan knows all about those as well, because that was like all he had on his program when we were trying to get him to get back to those ground moves.
Right.
So along those lines, what would be like your gold star, if you got a few gold star movements for dancers, and maybe ones that they could do at home without any equipment?
I really like the exercise you said, the elevated foot split squat. I think it's great. You can do it with isometrics holding it and then fast up. You can progress it. You can do it just static and just staying there. You can do it like one count down, one count up. You can do it count down, holding it and jumping too. Like I think that's like doing things, strengthening one leg at a time is awesome. It helps balance, and a lot of injuries occurred from the loss of balance that I've had. So when I um yeah, that's one of my favorite exercises. My other favorite thing is plank. The thing with planks though is like they start to get easier. So I always have to challenge it. But just a classic plank, um anything core stuff is definitely my go-to, because the older I get, the more I realize, or the more I feel like my movement is efficient when my core is strong. It's like every time I train and every time I'm dancing, the more I learn, like the core is really making everything else feeling more easier to do if I have a strong core. And then challenging it in different ways, like side planks or I really like those hollow body holds. Awesome. Very hard, very simple. You don't need any equipment for. Um, and there's many ways you can do hollow body holds and planks too.
Yeah, it's funny to hear you bring up the hollow body hold, because you were just ready to leave every time we did those in
Oh
warm
my
up. So
goodness.
you
Sure.
thought you were doing really good. The leg strength was on point, and then we started
Yes.
throwing those in, and that was like the few times I was like, yeah, I think Hikari's like about to leave right now. She's
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually go back to revisit that every like few weeks. Um, but yeah, those are very telling. Those are really
Oh
telling.
yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we got the rear foot elevated, some sort of plank, hollow body hold variation. Hey, got any other, maybe one more that's coming to mind for folks that they could do at home?
So for the style I dance I do, push-ups are really awesome. I'm tentative of saying push-ups because doing push-ups correctly is really hard. I'm actually in the process of regressing my
Sorry.
but yeah, push-ups are really awesome. Um I'm actually retraining my push-up form, and I'm starting with negatives and then going on an incline, and I'm slowly coming back to the floor because my form was a little bit more in my shoulders and I wasn't really using certain muscles, and I wasn't able to get my elbows like um in a little bit. So I'm degressing and then trying to retrain the form of my push-up. But with push-ups, the right form I think are awesome for popping.
Yeah, I'm with you that on that too. I really love push-ups. I also say like a lot of people do them wrong, trying to wing out here. Another
Mhm.
little quick test I'll give is like, hey, if you're gonna shove me, right? Where would you put your arms? And immediately, without even training, they know, hey, I'm going to be in this position, right? In the same way we want to work our rows. What's
Mhm.
nice about that is without any thought, they already know the most powerful position for their arms.
Mhm.
We're also not just kind of jamming the shoulder in the socket through there.
Mhm.
So I'm with you on that. Actually, it's funny because I write a lot of programs and I'll get some pushback on like, why are you doing push-ups?
Mhm.
And I'm with you. I think they have a ton of utility, and I
Mhm.
think probably a lot of that is just pushback from people maybe just not doing them right,
Mhm.
or kind of training that incorrectly. In the same way, people are kind of have that apprehension on a move like the deadlift.
Mhm.
Um, so that's awesome.
Mhm.
So yeah, we got three things to work with there, and we got folks thinking about some time management, right? And also like recognizing, hey, there's plenty of things that they can do at home,
Mhm.
even without equipment.
Mhm.
And also too, I think like I said, you're kind of living proof. Hey, you can do this. You can put that together. The incredible thing I remember coming back is I think you're working on like a pop up and just kind of all these different positions that you had to be in. And I think that's where all of like that strength training comes in, and then
Mhm.
being able to really kind of execute and control. So really, really cool to see, and also really different to think of. It's not even just someone who's out there running, jumping, cutting. You're like essentially it's like a kind of like these ground moves and like jujitsu or like the two people you just have to be ready for like
Mhm.
whatever position you find yourself in. And I think
Mhm.
you can really help prepare yourself to be in those positions. So definitely want to thank you for coming on today. I think we got a lot of good food for thought.
Mhm.
So I'm sure people are going to have some questions after this. Where can people connect with you if they had questions, or if they're interested in learning more or training with you?
Yeah, sure. You guys can connect with me any of my social medias. I'm on Instagram, Hikari Miller or Hikari Safari, Hikari Safari. Um, and if you want to do the Funk and Focus dance tutorials for the workout and the workout programs for dancers, it's in the Funk and Focus Instagram, which is at Funk and Focus.
Awesome. And yeah, can you just for folks who don't know, just share a little bit about what's Funk and Focus for those who don't know.
Sure. So Funk and Focus is a dance education program that preserves and cultivates the history of popping and locking, and we teach worldwide. It's run by Ryan Future Webb, aka Ryan Future. He is the owner of Funk and Focus, and I hold down the health and wellness section of Funk and Focus.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put some links in the comments section. We'll also have a couple of video examples of those three exercises that Hikari was mentioning, for folks with some progressions and regressions, so people can hop on that, and even just getting started on those three would be a great way to go. So before we go, we do have this quick lightning round. This is kind of a fun thing that we do. So you got, don't think just kind of first thing that's coming up in your head there. All right. We got to get a few of these going. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Favorite place to eat in the DMV?
Oh, I like the Thai food down the street from Amina Thai. They
Okay.
have really good pad see ew.
Okay. What's favorite song to dance to right now?
Um, I can't get this Snoop Dogg song out of my head. I can't remember the name though, but it's on his first album. Um, I'm actually going to tell you the name of it because it is such a good song, and it's a new album. It is Conflicted, and Nas is on it as well. It's awesome.
All right. Cool. If you could battle one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
The first person that comes to my mind is Ryan Future, is my boyfriend, but I battle him a lot. But um, I have to think of somebody else because I battle Future a lot, or we exchange and stuff. But he's so good. He challenges my thinking. Let me think. I would say um, Boogaloo Dan. He, rest in peace, was a OG in Oakland, and he had a really raw, dirty style, and he was such a good role model, and he was so gangster with it, and um, I really liked his flavor, and he was a cool person. If he was alive, I would love to battle him. I'd lose, but I would just love to exchange with him. He's such a great conversationalist and dance.
Awesome. All right. Favorite board game?
Apples to apples.
Apples to apples. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then last one. So we're a few months into 2022. What's one thing that you're really trying to make happen and materialize this year?
So I would love to enter a lot more battles this year. I would love to be recommended for Red Bull Dance Your Style, and they have a battle every year, and it's based on your performance with battles locally and nationally. So my goal is to enter as many as I can, and maybe I can make a list to dance for Red Bull.
Awesome. Well, we'll all be rooting for you. Really appreciate your time coming on today, kicking us off here on the Skyhouse Fit podcast. Like I said, elevated fitness, champions of spirit. So thank you again. And yeah, check out the links in the bio if you want to connect with Hikari. And otherwise, till next time, take care. We'll see you then.
Peace.
5,000.